And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore. So this is a woman, this is a church that is apostate towards God. She's a prostitute that sitteth on many waters. So she must be universal, because she sits on many nations. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. So the kings of the world, political entities, must be in cahoots with her. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Her apostasy towards God has made the nations drunk. So obviously the nations have absorbed the theology of whom? The dragon. This is serious stuff. And so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. The beast, according to Daniel, is a political entity, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns are, of course, Rome. And the 7 heads, 7 is the number of deity. She is taking the place of deity. And the woman was arrayed in purple colors and scarlet colors, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication. There's only one church in the world that uses the woman with a cup as her emblem. And when you walk into the Vatican and you go to the right court, there you have the 2 statues, the one of the kings bowing down to her and the other one with a woman in the cup in the hand. So arrogant, she does not appear to be ashamed at all at advertising who she is.
All right. More assertions, as if they are de facto statements without question. Again, this is an internal message. So it's just, yeah, of course, yeah, rah, rah, ragging on the papacy, yeah, down with Roman Catholicism. And again, folks, I'm not an apologist for the Roman Catholic Church, but it's just rah, 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 yeah, yeah. And all of us have to accept this and come along for the ride if we want to be saved. What a joke. I mean, give me a break. No biblical exegesis is happening here. You're just reading and making de facto statements. That's not how you do biblical interpretation, sir. She sits on many waters, so that means she's universal. Where is that explicitly stated in the text, sir? It isn't. You guys just assert these things as if it's without question, and we're supposed to just accept it. Why? Because a woman from the 19th century who couldn't exegete her way out of a wet paper bag said God told her so? I mean, come on, it's laughable. He said, the 10 horns obviously represents Rome. Again, this is your interpretation, sir. The text does not explicitly say this, and you haven't even exegetically walked through the text and shown any sort of reason as to the grammar, the history, etc. Yet when you disagree and have reasons for disagreeing, Adventists get into this big huff and puff and say you don't want to believe the truth, you don't believe the Bible, etc. No. We just have other reasons for why we disagree with your interpretation. This is why the foundation of the Christian faith is not built upon eschatology. And I'm making such a big scuff about this because they're saying our salvation supposedly hinges on believing all this. This isn't just their own view and what they think is the strongest, like other Christians would say. No, this is supposedly a thus saith the Lord level interpretation from God himself that's supposed to convince us that we need to come join their movement, or else God's wrath is kindled towards us. And if you disagree, well, your heart just isn't open to the truth, like Ellen said. No, it doesn't work that way. You haven't exegeted anything, sir. You've just made a bunch of assertions, appeals to authority, hopscotched around the Bible, connected a bunch of things that have nothing to do with one another, detached it from all of the original historical audience, historical context, and then mixed it together in a theological pot, and we're then supposed to now eat your cooked up mess without question? This is supposed to be what convinces us that you guys have the old landmarks of truth, and I need to leave my godly, sound, Bible-preaching local extension of Christ's body to come be spiritually fed with this instead? Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Then we get the Dave Hunt-style conspiracy stuff. The woman holding the cup and the purple scarlet garments, yada, yada. It's actually funny. I had somebody reach out this past week. They said, I like the colors of the branding of Answering Adventism. Is that a play on the, and I was like, well, no, actually it wasn't. It's funny. I actually didn't think about that at all. I did the branding because I'm a graphic designer. And no, that wasn't the thinking. It was actually a play on the Answering Adventism folks was actually going to be called Behind the Curtain. Before I figured the alliteration of Answering Adventism was a lot clearer. And so I wanted it to be a play on Jesus entering behind the veil that they talk about in 1844 and him wearing Levitical priesthood garments. But ironically enough, yeah, it happens to ironically be the scarlet and purple. But that's not biblical exegesis, sir. It doesn't matter if there's a statue at the Vatican. How does that have anything to do with who John was writing to? Again, this sort of anachronistic detaching of history and reading back into something that isn't there. That's not sound biblical interpretation, sir. Revelation tells us that it's the cup of God's wrath that's given to the whore. Revelation 14:10, 18:6. Yet the chalice that Rome often depicts has to do with the Eucharist. The cup of wrath in Revelation has nothing to do with that. I mean, if you're going to bring an argument against them, at least understand what they believe and they're saying. My goodness. It's not even always depicted in gold. I've seen it in silver, brass. Rome's going to tell you this goes back to ancient Israel with gold being used for various religious utensils. Nothing to do with them flaunting that they're the whore of Babylon. Now you're starting to see, folks, why I say this is Alex Jones InfoWars style stuff of Adventism. He's cracking the ice, and yeah, we're going to really get there in a bit.